Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today because, honestly, we're staring down a massive, literally seismic shift in the digital world. We are diving into exactly how AI search has created an absolute visibility crisis for websites. Whether you're a business owner, a content creator, or really just someone fascinated by how the internet is evolving, you need to understand that the rules of the game have completely changed. The traditional ways of getting found online, they're vanishing. But don't worry, we're going to explore exactly how to survive and even thrive in this brand new landscape.
But, before we get completely lost in complex algorithms and AI systems, just ask yourself this super simple, everyday question. Who would you actually trust to teach you to ride a bike? Seriously, just think about that for a second.
Right. Let's look at the options. Would you go with person A, no helmet, just watched a YouTube tutorial like 5 minutes ago and is basically just crossing their fingers? Or are you going to go with person B, a pro cycling coach, fully certified, decked out in safety gear, who's already taught thousands of kids? It's a total no-brainer, right? You want the expert. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what Google and modern AI engines are doing right now when they decide which websites to show you. They are actively hunting for person B.
So here's our roadmap for today's Explainer. We're going to cover the AI search crisis, meet your new algorithm gatekeeper EEAT, and decode the high-stakes YMYL filter. Then, we'll talk about building your authority pillars, look at some real-world ranking recoveries, and finally, wrap it all up with a concrete 90-day action plan.
All right, part 1, the AI search crisis.
Look, those traditional blue search links we all grew up with, they're vanishing. They're being replaced by AI overviews that just answer your questions right there at the top of the results, and it's causing a massive spike in zero-click searches. People get their answer and bounce without ever visiting a website. But here's the million-dollar question. Where's that AI getting its answers? Well, the data is just staggering. When we analyze the sources they cite, a whopping 90% come from high-authority sites that show really strong EEAT signals. Just 10% come from lower-authority sources. Why? Because AI systems are terrified, literally terrified of giving out wrong information, so they lean heavily on established institutional authority.
Which brings us to this harsh but incredibly powerful reality straight from our source material. If AI can't trust your content enough to cite it, neither can your potential customers. Wow. Low-quality, anonymous, or unverified content is quite literally becoming invisible today. That authority gap, it's widening every single day.
Moving on to part 2, let's meet your gatekeeper, EEAT.
Okay, let's dive into this. What exactly is this gatekeeper EEAT? Conceptually, it's a framework that search engines use to evaluate how credible a website really is. Its entire job is to make sure we're being shown info from genuine, trustworthy experts, not just random, unreliable sources. And the data backing this up is incredibly compelling. Check this out. Pages that show strong EEAT signals rank, on average, 30% higher than their competitors. 30%! That is massive. So let's rapidly fire through the 4 components of this acronym. First up is experience. Has the author actually done what they're talking about in the real world? Second is expertise. Do they really truly know their stuff? Third, authoritativeness. Are they recognized and respected by other experts in their field? And finally, trustworthiness. Can you fundamentally believe what they're saying? Is their site secure? Transparent? Listen, these are not just nice-to-haves anymore. These are the absolute non-negotiable standards that Google's quality raters explicitly use to train the AI.
All right, Section 3, the high-stakes YMYL filter.
Now, I need to adopt a slightly more serious tone for a second here, because search engines treat what they call your money or your life topics. These are topics where bad info can genuinely harm someone's health, their finances, or their safety. They treat them very differently. If your site falls into one of these YMYL industries like healthcare, finance, or legal, the EEAT rigor they expect is at the absolute maximum. Your top priorities have to be verifiable credentials, documented medical or legal reviews, and citing primary sources. Compare that to non-YMYL sites, think entertainment or hobbies, where the priority leans a bit more on just general author experience and portfolios. For high-stakes YMYL, things like HTTPS security and transparent contact info, they aren't just best practices anymore. They are absolute survival requirements.
Okay, on to Section 4, building your authority pillars.
Now we're getting into the real masterclass portion of this explainer. Our source outlines a pretty brilliant 7-pillar implementation system. And the best part? These aren't just abstract ideas, they're tangible actions.
We're talking about building an author-authority architecture, integrating trust signals, maintaining content excellence standards, optimizing user experience, and developing a solid link profile. And you pull the whole shebang together with schema markup and entity-based authority building. It sounds like a lot, I know, but this is exactly how you prove your legitimacy to a machine. And a crucial piece of this puzzle is how you actually communicate all that legitimacy to the machine. Think of proper schema markup like your website's digital ID card. It lets the AI instantly read and verify your credentials. It is absolutely critical that you link your author names directly to their LinkedIn profiles, their certifications, and any institutional pages, right there in the site's code. Because honestly, if the AI can't easily read your credentials in the code, you basically might as well not have them.
Which brings us to Section 5, Real-World Ranking Recoveries.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that it's not just theory. Look at this number, 67%. That is the massive organic revenue increase achieved by an e-commerce fitness equipment site in just 4 months. How'd they pull that off? Actually, scratch that. It wasn't by slashing prices. They did it by hiring certified personal trainers to write their product reviews. They added detailed author bios with real certifications and included video content showing the equipment being used in actual workouts. They leaned all the way into verifying their experience and expertise, and it paid off big time.
And check out this one, $8,500 in monthly revenue. This was generated by a brand new personal finance blog that started entirely from scratch. In a super competitive, high-stakes YMYL space, they systematically built up their authority. They prominently displayed their certified financial planner credentials, they published original research, and they went out and earned media mentions from established publications. They proved their trustworthiness to the algorithm, and the algorithm absolutely rewarded them for it.
Finally, Section 6, your 90-day action plan. All right, let's get you empowered with a concrete chronological roadmap. Days 1 to 30, that's all about foundation building. Do not skip this. Before you even think about scaling up your content, you've got to fix your basic trust signals. Make sure you have HTTPS security, flesh out those comprehensive author bios, and get your basic schema markups set up. Then, days 31 to 60 shifts your focus to authority building. This is where you reach out for high-quality links, gather authentic social proof, and update your entity profiles, like your Google Business and LinkedIn pages. And finally, days 61 to 90 is for scaling and optimization. That's when you expand your content on top of this new foundation and start implementing advanced schema.
But hey, before we wrap up, I really need to issue a quick but very serious warning. Please do not try to shortcut this framework. Faking credentials, using anonymous authors for your articles, or copying content from other sites, those are some of the most common EEAT mistakes, and they will absolutely destroy user trust. Not only that, but they'll trigger severe algorithmic and manual penalties that are incredibly difficult to bounce back from. Bottom line, be authentic and be transparent.
And that leads us to one final question to think about. Which side of the AI divide will your business be on? Are you going to be the trusted, credentialed authority that the AI confidently cites, or will you end up effectively invisible in this new search landscape? I highly encourage you to take everything we've learned today, take a hard look at your own site's EEAT scorecard, and start building that unshakable authority. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.